And we're off.
And, yep. When we got bombs in Link's house. And a map in Sanctuary, so we won't have to go farming for bombs, at least, to go to Kakariko.
Yeah, it's always nice to get bombs really early. Although Chexhuman will probably want them a little bit more than firewoodking because he is starting in the Lost Woods. Well, there we go. Firewoodking is just flush with bombs right now, getting an 8-bomb drop off the guard.
I was gonna say, if we got a bomb tree pull too, that would have just been too much, but we got arrows off of that tier 1 tree pull.
Yeah, Chexhuman doing an interesting Sanctuary start here. Usually when people start at Sanctuary, more bombs off the usually when people start at the Sanctuary, they go up to the Bush Crab and check the Aga item. You don't see a whole lot of people start off with the Lost Woods and just run straight to this location.
And we got French Vanilla Sword in the Uncle Tunnel. We got crystals at Eastern and Desert. Desert also being a 5/6 crystal. And then I think we had a Vanilla Ren Pendant at Hera. Yeah, to your point, though, that is one of the things that I saw towards the latter stages of the Spring Open tournament, where you saw a lot of runners not even bother going to check Lumberjack Ledge, and only really going to check it when they had the ability to do Aga 1 and 2 get the boots. Because even if there is a required item there, until you have the means to kill Aga 1 and get the boots, or get the item from bonking the tree, it's kind of like there's really no need to go check it, almost.
Yeah. Chexhuman getting those bombs in Link's house and not even opting to do anything at the castle, going straight to Kakariko. So it'll be interesting to see how long he misses out on that sword, although now don't really have a whole lot of combat that happens at Kakariko anyway, so.
Nah, and if the one thing you learn in Randomizer very quickly is you learn how to navigate Hyrule without a sword.
Yeah. Chexhuman deciding to run the race game blind, and it worked out for him. If he had scouted that heart piece, he probably wouldn't have done the race game, but because he ran it blind, he's probably happy to see that, as opposed to a blue or green rupee.
Yeah, especially because of the way he chose to start from the south and work up. Normally, if he would have YOLO'd it going from north to south, he would have most likely just saved and quit before taking the time to get the heart container. But since you have to go back and go through Kakariko anyway, you might as well.
And Firewoodking finding that green rupee in Zelda's chest and saving and quitting out. I don't think Escape had anything worth the value in it.
No, I didn't see anything.
Firewoodking now tracing over Chexhuman's path. Chexhuman just finding an arrow upgrade in the chicken out there. So far, the sword is the most exciting thing we've gotten.
We haven't even gotten enough money to pay off the bottle vendor yet.
Yeah, it might require some farming. I think you get a total of 70 rupees from these two chests, or from the well and Blind's Hut. So we're going to need at least a blue rupee in one of these chests. And there we go.
Yep. We did also see Moon Pearl in the well. And as I say, we need cash for the bottle vendor. The seed gives us cash in the well.
Getting our Moon Pearl, which is 1/3 of the Dark World puzzle. We still need a glove and a hammer, or 2 gloves. But getting closer to Dark World access.
I got blue mail there.
Man, this seed is being very stingy. Not a whole lot of progression at all.
Well, you were talking about Dark World access for trying to get there, but at this point we have wow,
Very well protected.
5-minute red mail. But anyway, I mean, we've got sword and moon pearl, and we would just either need another sword or the cape in the lamp in order to do Aga 1. So either way, in terms of getting to the Dark World, we've still got things to find.
Now, Chex opting to do South Shore before doing Castle. He is going to have a tough mini Moldorm cave unless he finds some kind of weapon down here.
Said he finds cash.
Yeah, you can't throw money at him.
Now, if this were a retro seed and you had the bow, in some ways you could throw money at them.
Firewood King getting his red mail.
Should take the moment to point out that we're using different Link sprites today. We've got Firewood King using the hat color Link, and then Chexhuman using the swatchy Link, where basically the whole head matches the hat and the whole body matches the tunic.
I like this play from Chexhuman. So he's doing Agina with the dam, and then we'll probably do Mini Moldorm Cave and Ice Rod Cave separately. I like this play especially on one-on-one because this isn't a play that your opponent often makes. So if there's any kind of value here, it can really pay off. Half magic. That is not bad.
Not bad at all.
Unfortunately, he doesn't have any item that can use magic right now, but certainly one of my favorite safeties to have in the game.
And instead of going to Mini Trolldorm, gonna head for Eastern.
Yeah, I mean, as far as plays go, especially without a weapon, this is one of the better plays you can make. There are a lot of items up here, and Eastern certainly isn't a dungeon that you really need an item to get through. Dark rooms can be annoying without a sword, but certainly not impossible. He's got health and red mail to boot, so he should be good.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was going to say after we see what's in the hospital's closet, which other than a Fisher-Price My First Shield, nothing. You know, to your point about Agina's Cave, the thing is, you know, at this point, we have to find at least 2 more items in either direction towards Dark World access. And so the thing is that unless the seed is being very cruel and putting both items in one location, you're pretty much going to assume that 2 separate locations are going to have the 2 items you need. So I to your point, that's kind of why I like the plays that Chexhuman has done, because the thing is, at some point, you're assuming both items are not going to be in the same location.
Chexhuman with excellent bomb strats in this room. Gotta make sure he gets this last one, though, and he does.
Very nicely done.
And more bombs.
And a bottle. And a sand cart, and cash, and cash.
And not a bad mini Moldorm cave, but, I mean, at this point, progression's gotta be somewhere. I'm thinking, like, what, Eastern, or, I mean, it's gotta be Eastern, or Ice Rod Cave at this point. I think that's all we got left. Or unless Sick Kid with the bottle.
Yeah, Sick Kid.
We're really running out of locations here.
Yeah. Something's got to give somewhere. Ranger Avoid in chat pointing out also probably doing a fake flipper, which I would certainly concur with at this point, since you got the Moon Pearl. You are $100 short of Zora, though. That would be the only thing at this point. Or there's the
now it's in logic.
The flippers just will put it in logic by itself.
So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because I don't like orphaning Zora, but at the same time you have flippers. I mean, from commentators' point of view, we know that Zora's probably hot. The Zora area, something's probably up there. But from Chexhuman's place, I bet he's in the back of his mind, he's probably like, man, I wish I could put this on until I had just a few more rupees.
I mean, that's probably why I would. It's probably why I would do escape. Okay, Hammer is at Lake Hylia Island, so we need Dark World access before we can get the Hammer.
Yeah, they're probably going to want that. Hammer is also mirror locked.
Alright, so what has the hobo got today? Power Glove.
Power Glove. Alright, seed's starting to open up now.
And now we're going to see Chexhuman most likely do back of escape. He has not done front. So it'd be interesting to see if he decides to go front of escape after this.
Yeah, I mean, sooner or later, he's got to go there, if only for the sword.
Yeah, because at this point, with knowing that the Hammer is on Lake Hylia Island, it basically is you either find Titan's Mitts or you're doing Aga 1 at this point. And there's a second bottle.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is he might be putting it off until he has a weapon, but the irony there is that, you know, the sewers has your weapon. Or the secret passage, rather.
Well, he might be going for it here.
So I'm thinking that Eastern has to have either a glove or the lamp at this point. Because we know that with the back, the dark chest is lamp locked, and we don't have the lamp yet. We know the front of escape doesn't have anything, so I don't know.
Well, Zora is technically still in logic. The game assumes you can farm cash and just $5 on the Zora ledge. So even though we don't have enough cash right now, the game assumes that you can get Zora by farming rupees. So right now we're basically looking at Zora, Sick Kid, Eastern, and that's about it.
Chexhuman finally picking up his sword. So firewoodking is in an interesting position here. He will pick up the key, and if he's comfortable doing dark rooms, he can access the start chest and escape.
Which is what he's doing.
Yeah, this dark room can be kind of intimidating because you have to chase down the key rat, but they have a semi-predictable pattern. They stop, they dash in a random direction, but once they hit a wall, they will always move clockwise. So they can be kind of convenient to predict their movement. And you can make your darkroom decisions based off of that knowledge too.
I actually learned something today. I didn't realize that. I didn't think about the fact that they always go clockwise when you hit a wall.
Yep. The crickets at the top of Thieves Town do the same thing.
Yeah, because they're essentially the same enemy, just with a different sprite. I would say
firewoodking is making his way to this chest now. Hopefully we'll be able to see what it is.
Yeah, he's looking for it. I was about to say, oh, that's Fire Rod.
Oh, that's a good find.
Well, I was going to say, Chexhuman now has to set up a very painful death warp with how much damage he has to take, but he's doing it, and when he does, he'll be rewarded with that Fire Rod.
So one interesting thing about the Fire Rod, it's certainly not ideal, but Dark Aga is quite trivial if you know where the torches are in the tower. So that would be a very, very bold move that one of our runners can make if they think the seed is Screaming Aga to begin with.
Yeah, the only problem there is you still need the cape or another sword upgrade just to get in there.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is, at this point, like, okay, Sahasrahla telling us Green Pendant is at Skullwoods, but at this point, Zora, Sick Kid, or Eastern has to have either Lamp, which would get us Death Mountain, Titan's Mitch, which would get us Dark World access, or it can be really bold and just give you Lamp and Cape and say, here, go to Aga 1.
Chexhuman getting his Fire Rod too, so glad that both runners have that. Because if you leave that dark chest and escape, it can be a long time before you go back there.
Alright, so Firewood King is going to show us Eastern. And it should be worth pointing out, to your point about using the Fire Rod to light the torches in the Aga Tower, the logic does not account for that. It is, you have to have the lamp in order to do dark rooms by the logic. And there's the flute, so there's Death Mountain access. And Firewood King says, I'm good with that.
I mean, this could work out for him. I've made that same decision, and it came back to bite me when I made it because boots were in the back of Eastern. But we'll see. A lot of runners, like, in my opinion, if you're going to go to Eastern, you might as well do it all, if only because there's a hint there. But yeah, very, very bold move from Firewood King there.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, to honor Hyrule, we ask that you join us. It is time once again for the playing of our national Swag Duck Anthem.
A check. I'll wait. Sorry for my reference there. But Chexhuman's setting up a hula hand. He now has money for Zora, so he's going to check this area.
Yeah, it certainly makes sense to be doing that. As Firewood King is also going to be checking Sick Kid here. And we got Kane of Samaria.
Wow.
Alright.
It's weird. We're getting a bunch of items that we're going to need later in the game, but we're not getting a whole lot that helps us right now.
Speaking of
a hook shot.
Well, actually, no, that does help, because if you put the flute and the hook shot together, that will get us access to East Death Mountain.
What's interesting, though, I don't think Chex is going to bother with Eastern, so he's about to sequence break Death Mountain right here. Yeah, so this is in logic, but he doesn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Now, the one thing there is with Eastern being a crystal, and knowing that Skullwoods and Hera are the two pendants at this point, unless Myra is the other pendant, you can pretty much assume that Chexhuman will at some point go to Eastern, get the flute, and then that would allow him to get to Myra. Oh, there is a sword upgrade on the Aga Tunnel.
Yeah, that's dubious. I mean, at what point, if any, do you go get that?
I mean, realistically, if I have to do Aga for Dark World access, then you go get that sword. If, the time getting a sword upgrade compared to having to sink the time into the Aga Tunnel when you don't have to, I wouldn't do it.
Hope Firewood King makes it up the mountain alive. Yeah, it looks like he's gonna be all right.
Bombs on Spectacle Rock. New thing with version 30 with the hints. We see runners just start YOLOing inside Spectacle Rock to also get the hint.
Hey, look, more bombs.
Hey, look, useless hint.
So it's kind of interesting. Chexhuman doesn't have the flute, but Firewoodking doesn't have the hookshot. So Chexhuman doesn't know that any of this is in logic. Firewoodking, however, doesn't know that Zora actually has an item he needs. And unfortunately, Firewoodking did dip the Zora area. So right now, Zora's kind of isolated up there for him.
Yeah,
I don't know how long it'll be before he gets back there.
Well, and Firewoodking is 3 rupees short, so I'm imagining he's going here to get cash, and then probably heading up to Zora.
Yeah, for Firewoodking, I think this is the only location left for him. Either that or go back to Eastern and finish that dungeon out.
Yeah, and realistically, we've got 8 item locations here in Paradox Cave and Spiral Cave, and after that, if we still haven't found Titan's Mitts, then there's something else in Eastern Palace at that point, because we've seen everything else. Alright, there's Ether, which we can use for later, but not now. There's another.
Almost.
There's another medallion that we can use later, but not now. And Paradox Cave was a bust.
Man, this seed is giving it to us piece by piece by piece. Firewood King probably really good he came back. Really glad that he came back for that location.
But yeah, unless Spiral Cave has something, we're back to the 2 items in East, the 2 remaining items that could be in Eastern.
Just a heart piece on Floating Island. We're not going back for that.
How vanilla of the seed.
And an update for those just joining us. Firewood King dipped into Eastern. The first chest had flute, so he left. Chexhuman has not done that yet. Firewood King just got his hook shot, but he did not have that the first time they came up here. We got Fire Rod out of logic in the basement of Escape, and we know that Hammer is on the Lake Hylia Island.
So that flute so far was the flute and the hook shot were an entire red herring, and we have to go back to Eastern. There's something else there that gives us progression.
Unfortunately, Chexhuman opting to check Sick Kid before Eastern. I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong with the decision, but we know that the flute is in Eastern, so he's going to pick up his flute and then have to make this walk all over again.
Pretty much. Which, again, unless with him sequence breaking and having the save point, I mean, he can choose to save that walk back to Kakariko to get the flute when he needs to. Because literally at this point, like, it either, the two remaining items in Eastern have to be either Titan's Mitts for Dark World access, Lamp, but then you would either need the cape or another sword upgrade to be able to do Aga 1, or the book to then be sent to Desert.
Yeah, Mirror would give us era access.
There's that too. That is correct. So
yeah,
something
only a
has
small number of items that can be in here, though.
Right. something has to be in Eastern that leads somewhere else, but there's a lot of things it could be that would, lead us down a rabbit trail somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Shovel. Man, Firewood King just absolutely wrecking that cave of bombs. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but he dropped 2 bombs like the moment he walked in the room.
Nah, so the thing was, from what I've seen from most runners, they'll drop 2 bombs, pick up the second, throw it at the switch, and have the original bomb to try to take out some of the mini troll dorms. And Firewood King converging on Eastern at this point.
And there are the mitts.
So that is Dark World access.
Firewood King's probably kicking himself for leaving Eastern. And Chexhuman is going to go ahead and clear the dungeon out, so there's potentially 1 more item to be gained here. And we are going to get... Chexhuman forgetting that he had Fighter Sword there. But there's 1 more item to get here and a hint.
And we can still find that with the big key there. The saltiest man in the world is living up to his name by saying those Titans mitts should mean they should go to Ice Palace. I don't know. I know I have red mail, but with Fighter Sword, I don't know if I necessarily want to go to Ice Palace right away.
Well, with Bombos, Ice Palace would be in Logic for us.
As well as the Fire Rod.
Well, Fire Rod's not in Logic yet.
Or that.
We found that in the dark. We can't clear Ice Palace, though, without the hammer, which we know is, at this point, mirror locked.
Yep, it's on Lake Hylia Island.
Yeah, Firewood King's not making this mistake twice. He's going to go ahead and clear out the rest of the dungeon while he's here. It's one of the more useless hints in the game, saying that something requires the hammer, just because that can be so many places in the world. So bad news. Which, I mean, I don't know how much more you could have asked from EP. I mean, they gave you the flute and the mitts, but we did find that 3rd item. The bad news is that it's junk, but the good news is that you don't have to worry about Eastern Palace pretty much until you're in go mode.
Yep. Alright, so Chexhuman will activate that flute and then head over to the Dark World.
So at this point, we can do Skull Woods, we can do Thieves Town, we can do Dark Death Mountain, and if we want, we can dip our toe into Mire. Mire is actually, I mean, without the lamp, it's technically full clearable if we can get into it, but I would not want to do Mire with this setup.
Well, that's where Firewood King is heading, because I was actually about to say... Alright, hold on. Map check. Thieves Town is the other pendant. Ice Palace is the other 5/6 crystal.
Those are some nasty pendants for our current setup. Those are the 2 Dark World dungeons we can guaranteed full clear that are pendants right now.
But what I was about to say is, effectively, pretty much we spent the last 28 minutes where both of these runners have done all of the same things, and we're pretty much back to square one. Both runners are choosing to go to different Dark World dungeon areas to start, And with Ether for Mire, you can get in there, but without the lamp, you would not be able to finish Vitreous. Not that you would want to, because you don't have any weapons that would actually make Vitreous easy.
Yeah, when your best option to fight a boss is Fighter Sword spins, you're in bad shape.
Even with red mail.
Even with red mail and 20 hearts, like, you're gonna have a bad time there. Chexhuman is opting to go to the back of Skull Woods.
Yeah, we were about to say the same thing. Very interesting. I mean,
this is a green pendant, but it's, I mean, I don't know. Depending on how you want, how important you think the lamp is to a seed, this is still out of logic for us. A lot of top runners don't even bother considering the lamp in logic just because they don't need it. But yeah, this is a sequence break still for us.
As I'm often apt to say with whenever I commentate Randomizer, where we're going, lamps, we don't need lamps.
With half magic, this shouldn't be that bad of a fight. This would take 16 Fighter Sword spins or 8 Fire Rod shots. Chexhuman is not using his Fire Rod, though. Okay, he finally is.
I think he was trying to get Moth off of the spikes to be able to do damage with the Fire Rod, and down goes Mothula. For $50.
Yeah, I've seen worse. Not good, but I've seen worse.
The one interesting thing to note, now that we know what everything is, so we know Hammer is on Lake Hylia Island, and which needs the mirror, which are the two things that you would need one of the other in order to do Hera, and Thieves Town would be the only thing missing for finishing that is said Hammer. So Ice Rod, well, I take that back. Ice Rod and Bow, maybe Boots if Desert is Boots locked, are pretty much the only things that could be on the pedestal. So, you know, at this point, I can kind of see the reason why both runners are essentially deciding to go ahead and do Green Pendant Mothula at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and we know that the mirror is required, so there's always the chance that you can, you know, if you have to go to pod but you have the mirror, it makes that a really convenient check to turn in the green pendant.
Especially because at this point you know the mirror also can't be on the pedestal because you need it to get the hammer. And either one of those things you need to get the Hera, so ergo, you're not finding either on the pedestal at this point.
I'm trying to figure out what the second item in Skull Woods is. Firewoodking must have grabbed it, but I missed it.
Yeah, it was here. It was a heart container.
Oh, okay. So, unless a green pendant pays out, Skull Woods was kind of a bust.
The one thing we should point out, so Thieves Town is certainly in play. The first chest in Swamp is in play, even though we know the hammer's on Lake Hylia Island. By virtue of the flippers, Pod is in play, and Ice Palace is in play. And Aga 1 is not necessarily totally out of the woods just yet because... Well, no, I take that back, because, well... Ice Palace and Desert. Yeah, Aga 1's kind of on life support, because you would, at this point, the only reason you would need Aga 1 is for being able to get something required on the Fat Fairy before you can get the hammer.
I'm going to be real saucy and say that we have to do Aga for the sword so we can get progression off the tablet. There's probably like a 0.001% chance of that happening, but that's what I want to happen in the seed.
Okay.
We find the book, and then you have to do Aga to get the Master Sword.
Interesting. You'd have
and
to
then
find
like
the
mirror,
first,
then mirror on tablet or something like that.
I mean, at that point, if you had... Well, okay, actually, you know what I just realized? You're not going to be able to do Aga 1 for the big bomb, because you need the hammer to finish Ice Palace, which is one of the 5-6 crystals. So Aga 1 is dead at this point. The mirror has to be somewhere to give you the hammer to then be able to open up Fat Fairy, which means Aga 1 is dead except for the sword upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the only way we would need Aga 1 is if you need the Master Sword to get something off a tablet, which, as much as I want to have it, is highly, highly unlikely. Like if Mirror's on a tablet or something like that, and 2 sword upgrades are in Turtle Rock, then, you know, that could be a situation in which Aga 1 is required. So Firewood King opted to do Thieves Town. Chexhuman opted to skip it. We'll see which one works out. Firewood King cannot full clear this dungeon because he does lack the hammer, which means he is not going to be able to get the big chest. Does find mushroom though.
Yeah, but there could be a dungeon item in there. The small key could have itself locked in there, which would then mean the logic requires you for the hammer. But we got an empty bottle to start in Hype Cave. Literacy? 10 arrows?
Give me the cape. Give us a cape. Give us a cape.
Yeah.
We got the book at least.
There's your desert access.
Ooh, Firewood King did find that small key, so we don't quite know. It's possible that that big chest is required, although it does look like he's about to do a very long death warp out of Thieves Town.
Meanwhile, Chexhuman is going to swim over to the pod area. Probably will do... I imagine probably do a pyramid ledge check also.
So Chad is saying that Ice Rod was in Thieves Town. Oh wait, was that the hint?
No, Firewood King only did the first 4. Okay, so the Ice Rod was in Thieves Town, we just tracker hasn't been updated yet.
Okay, yeah, I just watched the clip. Yeah, it is, Ice Rod was in Thieves Town.
Okay, then. That does mean Turtle Rock is potentially... no, Hammer. I keep forgetting about Hammer. And Chexhuman... Wait. Was the mirror on the pyramid ledge? Apparently the mirror was on the pyramid ledge.
I was backtracking trying to find where Firewood King got the ice rod, but alright, so that opens up things. Oh, Chexhuman immediately going into Ice Palace. This is going to be a rough cold stare fight if he doesn't find a sword. Well, he does have half magic, so it's not going to be terrible.
A unique item is in the well. G-game, thanks. Really appreciate it. It's not like we were there a half hour ago or anything.
Yeah, nice journal entry.
But yeah, now Aga is officially dead.
And some slick bomb strats in that Pinagator room from Chexhuman.
So what's going to be interesting is Chexhuman does at some point have to go to Thieves Town for the ice rod. And with the bevy of stuff that we've picked up at this point, that could a pendant dungeon ice rod is something that could unfortunately be the determining factor in the race.
Yeah, it depends on how soon we get bottlenecked by that. Oh, okay, we got a sword upgrade in Palace of Darkness.
Alright.
That's good to know. And Firewood King is probably going to be very grateful we checked this. Going to be getting his mirror shortly. Chexhuman trying to do this bomb jump. It can be, depending on what you use for a lineup, it can be more difficult. The fighter sword, I think, is 1 pixel thinner, or 2 pixels thinner than a master sword, so it can affect your lineup if you use the sword. But luckily, he got it on second try. Coming up on the final Ice Palace hint. A unique item in Mimic Cave. Alright. So, unfortunately for Chex, he doesn't have the Ice Rod. If he gets Turtle Rock access, he might make that gamble, hoping that that unique item is the Ice Rod. So Firewood King has his hammer. I'm not quite sure what he's doing. Wait, he doesn't have hammer?
Chat's saying he didn't get hammer. Alright, Quake is an Ice Palace, so we've got the means to get into Turtle Rock no matter which medallion it is. Heart Container is a second item in Ice Palace.
Yeah, it looks like Firewood King got to the location and then just save and quit.
Which... yeah, he doesn't have it. So... you don't want to question a runner. I want to make that 1,000% clear. Like, you don't want to question him, especially when you debate yourself like that and totally mess up the hammer. But if I was going back, if I was having to make this long trek again, I would have at least done the Smith chain while I was trying to make this trek back.
Yeah, especially with Flute, that would have been a quick trip back. I mean, well, actually, you have the mirror. You could have just done it right there. You wouldn't have even had to have done a world tour. firewoodking, right back here, going to be getting his hammer very shortly.
All right, round 2. Let's try this again. Now we got it. So imagine either
Probably
desert
a
or
desert
mire.
check.
It might be a well, he's pulling out the mirror, so this is probably at the very least gonna be desert and checkerboard cave, and then you could combo mire as well. He's gonna do checkerboard cave first.
Yeah, I can see checking desert, but this is, you know, I mean, you can get through Cold Stare with this setup, but Vitreous is a different story.
True.
Although you do get to find out a desert is boots locked.
With only having Fighter Sword, Chexhuman keeps Cold Stare in a corner as long as he can. And gets rid of 2 of the eyeballs. And hammers the last one to death.
Yeah, very clean fight for his setup.
And there's the first crystal of the game. Surprisingly, an Ice Palace 46 minutes in.
With a fighter sword.
That is usually not the first crystal we call. And we are boots locked out of desert.
Well, we don't know yet. If the big key is in the vanilla compass chest, I think it is, we can still progress. But yeah, the right side is definitely boots locked. Well, desert is now clearable.
Oh. You can't. Sometimes you can't write this stuff.
Well, desert is boot locked.
And then we'll just put the boots right there.
So luckily, Chexhuman in this neighborhood, he is probably going to be getting boots shortly. I can't imagine him dipping mire before desert in this situation.
Alright, so Lammo is going to have the second item.
Chexhuman, gotta check the unique item on the desert ledge.
Which is the Arrow of Destiny.
Chexhuman probably going to get a chuckle here when he opens his chest.
Or just runs straight for the torch. Alright, 2-1 count on the Lambos. 2-2.
Fortunately, getting bullied just a little bit there. Having trouble getting those fire rod shots in.
And without any more magic, the Lambos have to walk, take their base, and just hope not to get pelted by a hammer. Man, Firewood King is having a lot of trouble with his last Lambo. There we go.
And another $50 for a boss.
Yep. Okay, so we're going to see Firewood head to Mire next. Yep, he's going to Mire.
This is a bold play, in my opinion. I would probably do Ice before doing Mire. I mean, if you're following your item chain, we did get Flute, which really only led to Ether. I mean, it gave us Death Mountain access, but there really wasn't a whole lot on Death Mountain. So maybe he's thinking, you know, hey, I got this Flute, I got this Ether, the Flute didn't lead to anything, so maybe this is what he thinks, because you got the book, which technically was our desert access. So in my opinion, Flute still has to be accounted for in some way.
And 3 strikes, the Lambos are out for Chexhuman. Very clean Lambo fight on Chexhuman's side. And Chexhuman is following in Firewood King's footsteps into Mire. Silver arrows. First item in the Mire.
If we had a bow to shoot them with, that would be awesome in this dungeon.
Yes, it would. Now, if we see a bow in here...
Yeah, bow or lamp would be funny items to get in this dungeon, in my opinion. So we know the... Well, actually, no, the other item's going to be cash, right? Because we know that the big key and cash are fire-locked because of a hint, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, never mind, a compass. So we still don't know what the second item is, but we know that the big key is fire-locked.
Which technically means this is still out of logic. The compass and whatever is in the vanilla big key chest is still out of logic.
Although the second item, as long as it's not in the big chest, is actually in logic. So lamp could be the second item here, and that would bring us back into logic.
The magic mirror is in plain sight. Woohoo!
Dear Diary, today the magic mirror was in plain sight.
Well, it was a red shield as the second item in Mire.
I must be getting mixed up. I could have sworn I saw a hint that said big key was firelocked.
Maybe for Hera. Maybe it's a required coffee break if we do end up going to Hera. Because that's the only hint that would say that something is fire-locked.
Yeah, I was also watching a seat before commentating this one, so I might just be getting my wires crossed.
Believe me, I've done that before.
Firewood King getting a little bullied here. He's got to be a little careful of his health.
Our big key had to be there.
We've already got both items. I guess he just wanted the small key so he could go this route. Which, now that I think about it, it's probably faster than walking around.
Yeah, it would make sense. Firewood King is draining his magic to do a fake powder to get some health from the Antifairy. And Matt is able to get 2. Very nicely done.
It's a 5-star fake powder there.
And Firewood King is going to attempt Vitreous.
I don't know that I would do this. I would, especially knowing that Vitreous doesn't have an item, I would come back later.
Yeah, I would be in the same boat. I also suck at this game.
Yeah, Chexhuman is noping out. And for Chex, I don't know. Number one, I think Diving Mire in general made a little bit more sense for Chex because he's cleared more overworld. But even at that, Chexhuman knows that there's a sword and pod, so he knows that there's a chance to do that with better equipment. So yeah, I definitely agree with the decision to leave there.
Oh, that's right, because that hint was in Ice Palace, which Firewood King has not been to yet.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing a swamp play on Chexhuman's side. And as Lucius Zero in chat pointing out, we know the Ice Rod is in Thieves Town, which is a pendant, and Chexhuman will have to go there to get it.
So Firewood King lost a significant amount of health in the dark rooms there. This is going to be a tough fight for him.
You can use bombs to damage the mini eyeballs, which is what he's going to start with. Takes a lot of them, so bombs alone are not going to do it.
And we're out of bombs now.
So now we're going to fire sword spins and hope he has a safety maybe, or is really good at this.
Yeah, these eyeballs are relentless. And the more you kill, the faster those lightning bolts start coming.
I gotta say, this is really hard as a commentator right now because I am fascinated by this Vitreous fight, but I still have to keep one eye on Chexhuman in case we find something.
Yeah, so far we've only found a big key. So I do agree with this play. I mean, we got early flippers, which didn't... I mean, we got the hammer and hook shot behind the flippers, both of which kind of point to Swamp Palace. So I think this is... You know, if you want to say what the logic's pointing at, I think this is a pretty good guess of what the seed is trying to tell you. Firewood King down to 1 heart. Oh my gosh.
If he pulls this off...
Ooh.
He's got 3 eyeballs to go before the big one.
So far, just dungeon items for Chexhuman and Swamp. Oh man, be careful with these lightning bolts. Oh no!
I am sorry for all of the ears of chat. Press F to pay respects for Firewood King and chat's ears.
Man, that has to hurt, because he was there for a long time. The crazy thing is, he wasn't even close to being done, because after that he still had to deal with the big eyeball. Yeah. All on 1 heart, so...
Yeah.
Just shake it off, find Tempered, and go wreck Vitreous. Better yet, find a bow. You'll come back with silvers. Chexhuman almost leaving the room without hitting that switch. In my opinion, that is the trolliest room in all of Link to the Past. It's the only room that you have to leave the way you found it. Chexhuman making a play on the ever controversial left side of swamp. Some people avoid this side of swamp as a rule.
Yeah, the only thing I will say in his defense at this point.
Oh!
The second being when you find the big key and the compass as the first two items in Swamp Palace, that means you are going to have to do item checks on left side anyway.
Yeah, so we're, if I'm not mistaken, excluding the lamp, we are now in no mode.
Yeah.
Which is really bad for Chexhuman because he can now clear everything. Thieves' Town is a pendant, and he knows that there's a unique item in Mimic Cave.
And the Ice Rod is in the first 4 chests of Thieves' Town. Which is really going to make this race interesting because Firewood King is behind by the time waste of trying to kill Vitreous in his current state, but he will almost assuredly at some point go to Swamp Palace and get the bow there, which will put Firewood King into go mode.
There's part of me though that thinks that Firewood King might think he's behind because he's going all the way to check pedestal right now. I think he might just be hoping after that Vitreous death that he can find some kind of a low percentage play that's going to bring him back.
But it's a whole bunch of cash, so not today.
Not even going to lie, I was hoping for a sword upgrade. Because that would mean that the pod sword is the only sword we're likely to get.
Yeah, and with both runners having silvers, like, you're doing, like, at this point, knowing one of the sword upgrades is on the Lumberjack Ledge, you're doing Master Sword silvers before you even think about going to run Aga 1 to get Tempered Sword.
Chexhuman having a very nice Argus fight here, getting 2 puffs at a time with the Fighter Sword. We know where one sword, just reading in chat, we know that one sword is on Aga in the Lumberjack Cave, and we know that one sword is in Pod thanks to a hint.
Yeah. And now we're going to see Firewood King do the Smith Chain.
And unfortunately, the best we know he's going to find out of this is a sword. Wow, okay. A sword. There you go.
Well.
So that's actually good for him because Chexhuman is not likely to find that sword. I would think Chexhuman would dive the first 4 chests in Thieves' Town before doing Blacksmith sequence. I could be wrong, but I don't know. I don't think Chexhuman is going to find that. I think Chexhuman is going to finish out on Master Sword.
And we're going to see another fake powder as Firewood King is draining his magic meter to be able to do fake powder again. And just 50 bucks from turning in the green pendant, so that was a total bust. Alright, paying off Kiki the Extortionist and heading into Pod.
Yeah, this is going to turn into a really nice route for Chex because with that mirror, he can just do Eastern right after this.
Alright, so small key there so we weren't bow locked in the first place.
So if Firewood King does Swamp right after this, he will actually finish Swamp in go mode. Assuming he does left side. Whereas Chex is going to full clear Pod, and likely, possibly even make a dive into Turtle Rock before doing any of that, before ever going to Thieves Town to get the Ice Ride.
The one thing is we will not be able to call if Firewood King is in go mode. Woohoo, chat. Thank you for telling us the unique item is in Desert Palace. We already kind of saw that. Because the thing is that we don't know if Turtle Rock is Quake or not. And there is a chance that if Firewood King go mode's Ice, or was Quake the first item in... Was Quake the first item in Ice Palace?
I think Quake was in Ice. I don't know where it was. I think the Pentagator room was a dungeon item, like compass or map.
Okay, so then I'll go back to... Okay, Tojo in chat saying Quake was hammer locked. Okay, yes, I remember. It was in that room where the hammer pegs are that locks those two chests. So yeah, if Firewood King go modes Ice and orphans Quake, and then Quake is on Turtle Rock, we can't really say Firewood King is going to be in go mode until he either gets Quake or we see that Turtle Rock is not Quake. And there's Cape and Pod.
Also, Chexhuman picked up his second sword in Pod, too.
Yeah, that was on the bridge. Well, while we have a moment, and we are an hour in, this is usually a good time to remind everyone that Firewood King and Chexhuman are putting on quite a show for us tonight, and please be sure to give both of them follows on Twitch. They are deserving that of all the action they've been giving us in this very wild seed.
So this is a big moment for Firewood King. Are you going left, or are you going back into the dungeon?
I imagine even if he goes straight for Argus, with the way the dungeon layout is set up, you would imagine you would think he would go do left side after that.
Yeah, there will be 2 items left after he does the back.
And he's going to do Argus first.
on the bright side, if Firewood King skips left side swamp, we know he's probably going to get Quake.
Alright, Firewood King has the bow. We still need to see Turtle Rock and if Firewood King picks up Quake and Mire before we can call him into go mode. Very nice dark room traversal and pod from Chexhuman side.
So Firewood King is doing spin strats, which I mean, it's a strategy, but usually with the Master Sword you just slash twice. Looks like he is going for that strat now. Meanwhile, Chexhuman hammering away at Helmasaur. One silver arrow right to the cranium, and Helmasaur goes down.
Firewood King doing Master Sword spins and gets Argus down. Alright, so critical point. Does Firewood King go back in and check left side swamp?
I mean, after that Vitreous death, he might feel the burn like he's behind, so we'll see.
Survey says he's going in.
Oh, thank God.
Meanwhile, Chexhuman is going to make a beeline for the Armos Knights.
So this could very well put Firewood King in go mode, but Chexhuman needs to get to Pendant Thieves Town to get the Ice Ride. We know that Chex is covered for medallions, but we don't know the medallion Turtle Rock yet. And if that's Quake, that could be bad for Firewood King. If I were Firewood King, finding the bow, I would seriously consider doing Dark Death Mountain just to find out what the pendant for Thieves Town is. Chexhuman just tearing through Eastern Palace with silvers.
And now about to tear through those Armos Knights. Ashes, ashes, the Armos Knights fall down.
So where does Chexhuman go after this? I mean, you have a lot of items on Dark Death Mountain already. Alright, going to clean up Mire.
That makes sense.
Certainly an option. There's not an item to be gained here, but you do have to do it, so might as well get it out of the way.
And at this point, you just got to go to the eyeball shooting gallery.
Firewood King is making the Turtle Rock play, or the Dark Death Mountain play, rather. So this is going to be very interesting if Turtle Rock is anything other than Quake.
You know what just dawned on me?
What's that?
So, we've been hyping up the fact that right now Chexhuman is missing the ice rod in Thieves Town. But the thing is, once he does this, he has 6 of the 7 crystals. Firewood King only has 2. Although he's about to go into go mode, he still has 5 dungeons he still has to finish. This is going to be
a really good point.
And it is Quake locked.
Oh, it's Quake. That's rough for Firewood King because Ice Palace being the dungeon it is, I would rather check something like Pod. That, you know, go mode is sometimes go mode is just as fast as full clearing Pod, depending on where the big key is. So Ice Palace will probably be the last dungeon he checks at this point.
At this point, though, we will be able to call when both of these runners are into go mode, because it's basically this race now comes down to when does Firewood King go to Ice Palace to get Quake, and when does Chexhuman go to Thieves Town Pendant to get Ice Rod. And there's Lamp and Hookshot Cave.
That's nice. I was about to say that Firewood King will do these dark runes faster than Chex is doing them, but I forgot that he's already done them once and died to Vitreous. Chex only with 3 hearts, but luckily with silvers, he should make quick work of Vitreous.
Yep. Time to enter the eyeball shooting gallery.
Man, it looked like Chex was really nervous about that Vitreous fight there.
Alright.
You could just tell he didn't know if the silvers would handle Vitreous.
Alright, that is 6 crystals for Chexhuman. And Chexhuman is going to Kakariko. Is he gonna check pedestal, or is he? This might be Smith Chain, because he hasn't done that yet.
I mean, if you're doing Smith Chain and you're in the neighborhood, especially with Mirror, I would check first floor at Thieves Town. Maybe he's checking Bumper Cave and Graveyard Ledge.
Alright, just piece of heart on the bumper ledge. Okay,
oh yeah, he's still got all the boots checks.
Yeah, he's doing Flanctuary at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this makes sense. This is a route that he could probably take all the way to Catfish if he wants. I don't know. I feel like Chex is in a good place right now. If you're committing to these checks, I feel like there's no reason why you wouldn't commit to the blacksmith chain and first war chest of Thieves Town. So if he's making these checks, I highly doubt that he goes straight to Dark Death Mountain after this. But I mean, he could.
I think it really comes down to, does Chexhuman decide to YOLO Turtle Rock, or is he going to do every check before heading for Turtle Rock? So how did Firewood King get so far behind? Well, early on, both runners only had fighter sword, no bow, and both went into mire at the same time. Firewood King decided to attempt to kill Vitreous with fighter sword, and was really close but did not do it. And that time sink kind of put him behind in terms of the required path we essentially had to be on in order to get in terms of getting the items to get to go mode.
Looks like Chex is making the play at least to Dark Death Mountain. Don't know if he will dive Turtle Rock or not, but since he's up here, it wouldn't surprise me. But we will see. Keep in mind, we did find a hint earlier in the game that said there is a unique item in Mimic Cave. We know that's not the Ice Rod, but Chex does not. Chex will find his lamp up here, though. Not that, you know, he's pretty much done the hardest dark rooms of the game, but at least he won't have to worry about it anymore.
I have to think after the Pod Eastern combo, Firewood King is going to go to Ice Palace, because he's, as we just said, he's seen both items in Ice Palace. He knows Quake isn't there. Alright, Hookshot Cave done for Chexhuman. Alright, he's dipping it. We know he ain't finding Ice Rod here.
Yeah, I mean, if you're already up here, there's really no reason not to. Especially since you know that at least Mimic Cave is going to have a unique item. Yeah, I understand this play. I'm a bit surprised that he made the boots checks all the way to Catfish without doing the rest of Village of Outcasts, but I guess, you know, you wanted to pick something, you want to do a couple of overall checks before taking the TR gamble, so maybe that's what was going through his mind.
Well, there's another dud hint.
Answering a question in chat, TT is Thieves Town. Which is where we know the Ice Rod is.
Yep. And that is essentially where this race is at this point. Chexhuman has 6 of the 7 crystals, but the Ice Rod is in Pendant Thieves Town. Firewood King just needs Quake, which is in Crystal Ice Palace, but he's only about to get his 3rd crystal here. So this is Chexhuman's race to lose, but it really just comes down to how long it takes him to go to Thieves Town, and can Firewood King crawl his way back into this. Alright, Runner Watcher, of course. Of course, has to come with the pun. Chexhuman checks everything, hence the name. Very nicely done there.
So, from Firewood King's perspective, when he gets done with Eastern, I would think Ice Palace would be the next play given that it's a crystal, but in reality, he does have options. We can go to Thieves Town, finish that. We do have access to Tower of Hera. I don't like either of those decisions, but they are there. I don't think either runner's checked Spike Cave yet. So it'll be interesting to see what Firewood King does once he gets done with EP.
I mean, if I was in Chexhuman's shoes, the last thing I want to do is make another climb of Death Mountain to check Hera and Spike Cave. So if I've already committed to doing this, I'm gonna go do Hera and Spike Cave because I don't want to have to sink more time having to do another climb up Death Mountain if I don't need to.
We get to see what unique item is in Mimic Cave. So we found half magic. We have found the single arrow. Could be powder, could be shovel, could be bug net. Could be Burna. Shovel in the big chest. Probably not items that Chexhuman wants to see right now.
Alright, Firewood King is heading into Ice Palace, so hopefully he will get his Quake Medallion, and at that point he'll be in go mode.
Get to see what treasures are on Laser Bridge here. ₹20. More bombs. 100 rupees, and this last chest is going to be a key. So Chexhuman is doing an interesting thing here. So what he's doing is he's taking the safety door. You can actually mirror out of this door, and as long as you don't go back into the dark world, you can come back to that door, back to that gate, and mirror back into Turtle Rock. Unfortunately, he will have to go into the dark world in Thieves Town to get that ice rod, so that won't be an option for him.
Nope.
But certainly a heads-up play, given the information he has available to him. That's an interesting setup for that bomb jump, Firewood King there. I've never seen that setup.
Yeah, there's 3 Ice Palace bomb jumps. That is one of the 3, and as I was guessing, Chexhuman is heading into Hera before descending Death Mountain.
Useless hint. Luckily, he doesn't have to do the basement, although if there's an item down there and he's already committing to Hera, I would be surprised if he skips it.
Alright, here's where this race gets interesting. 1 hour, 31 minutes, 25 seconds, Firewood King is in go mode. And he knows it.
So not only is he in go mode, but he also has Tempered Sword, which will make his Gauntlet and Ganon fight a little bit more convenient. The only way Chexhuman is going to get a sword is if he opts to do the blacksmith sequence before diving the first 4 chests in Thieves' Town. The 3rd sword was in Hammer Pancake.
Alright, Cold Stare fight for Firewood King as Chexhuman finishes off Trolldorm. Puts Cold Stare in a corner. Gets out, 'cause wasn't... Alright, Cold Stare down for Firewood King. And predictably, Chexhuman is going to Spike Cave next.
So Firewood King probably heading for his Vitreous rematch. One thing I hope he's paying attention to is his arrow count. He does not have a lot of arrows. I'm not quite sure how many arrows it takes to kill Vitreous.
It takes 11. Because you got the 9 small eyeballs and then 2 for the big one. Granted, this time around, he does have Tempered Sword, Cape, and Boots, so that if he does run out of arrows, he has other means to take care of the eyeballs. Strike the Earth, Powder is at the dig spot.
Yeah, this is really bad for Chex, because he's probably going to be baited into all of these fetch quests now.
But that Powder leads him to Kakariko. Could this be the dip into Thieves' Town?
I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't, honestly. Like, they're 4 chests, they're really quick. Even if there's only 1 item, in my opinion, it's still worth knowing, like, what's there.
Alright, he's skipping Thieves' Town. He's going for Jeremiah.
Oh, wow. Like. This is a K45 check?
Looks like it.
This is an interesting order. This is going to end up being a close race depending on what Chexhuman decides to do right here.
Alright, round 2 with Vitreous. Alright, Chexhuman has his Tempered Sword. And Firewood King has Vitreous down. Revenge complete.
Yeah, that fight went much smoother than round 1. So Firewood King now going into Turtle Rock. He is in go mode. We do know though that there was a key on Laser Bridge, so I don't know that he's really going to be able to save a whole lot of time. And that key was the last small key, was the last chest on Laser Bridge, so he does have to do all of it. And unfortunately, we're going to have to see how long Chexhuman is going to avoid the front of Thieves Town.
I mean, he's running out of options. And frankly, again, okay, no. This might be the right play, because I was about to say, if you know you have to do Thieves Town, I would probably save the chest until after Thieves Town, but that is what he's going to do. So Chexhuman is about to get Ice Rod and get into go mode. We have a race, people.
Yeah, it's going to be the third chest he opens here. So Firewood King does have a head start on him. He's found some mushroom. He's probably getting really annoyed at all these fetch quest items he's finding.
But he is gonna be happy as soon as he makes his next check. Alright, Firewood King is into Turtle Rock, has to do everything. Chexhuman, 1 hour, 38 minutes, 3 seconds is in go mode, and just has to go straight to Trinex. Strap yourselves in, this could be close.
Yeah, this is definitely like left side versus right side will make a difference here. Execution will make a difference here.
Because the one thing that is going to benefit Chexhuman, having already had to dip Turtle Rock, he's already unlocked all the doors, he's already done everything, he has to just go straight there. Firewood King still has to do all the checks to get the keys to make it to Trinex.
Mirror Shield just in time. Chexhuman got to take advantage of it on Laser Bridge. Firewood King will be able to do the same. Man, this is close because Firewood King is going to have to execute all these rooms. Chexhuman just has to walk through them.
Alright, Firewood King is into basement 1 as Chexhuman's entering Turtle Rock. And now you're starting to see the gap close. Firewood King has the big key, so this is burn a key to get a key, so he's saving a little bit of time here.
Holy cow, they're in the same room.
Well,
like, they're going to be in the same room here.
In fact, And actually, if Firewood King thinks about it... Actually, I don't... Was there... There was a small key on the... Yeah. So Chexhuman's now in the lead.
He did steal a key, though, so there is a key on Laser Bridge, so Firewood King could have skipped the big chest.
Why is he going outside? Because there's still the chance that a small key could have been in the big chest, and if you missed... If it wasn't... If you don't get that chest, and there isn't a small key here... It would have been a longer trek.
Yeah, it's statistically unlikely, but very possible. It happened to me in one of my tournament matches, and I guarantee you it's not something you want to deal with in this situation.
But to your point, because he stole the key, he does now does not have to do Laser Bridge. Alright, try next time. Alright, red head down.
Yeah, Chexhuman not playing around with Trinex right there. Got a nice nice Samaria dash from Firewood King right there.
Alright, and as Chexhuman is finishing off Trinex, Firewood King is heading into Trinex. So, that is crystal number 7 for Chexhuman. So that means there are 22 locations where the Ganon's Tower Big Key can be in the basement of Ganon's Tower. If you want to play in this guessing game, guess a number between 1 and 22. But you have to subscribe to one of our 6-speed gaming channels or donate 250 bits. And I would suggest you do it pretty fast because Chexhuman's going to be in Ganon's Tower pretty fast. P-Train! What you guess?
I love Behind Ice Armos. I want to do all the tower. Vanilla location.
So that would be 15. I'm going to guess 20. You know what? 22. I want this race as close as possible.
Firewood King also having an excellent Trinex fight.
Alright, depending on left and right, Chexhuman is the one to go in first. Guesses are closed. It will be his numbers we use if Firewood King decides to go a different route. Chexhuman is going left. Chest number 1 is a small key.
I wonder if we might see a pseudo Dark Magician from him. Because it's not often people skip those first 2 chests on the right side.
Firewood King is in GT. 2, 20 bucks. 3, map. 4, piece of heart. 5, 20 bucks. Firewood King is going right, and Chexhuman is doing Dark Magician. And now Firewood King goes left.
Alright, so if it's on the right side, this could be big for Chex.
So that's 6 and 7 respectively.
Wouldn't that be 7 and 8 because of the torch?
No, because it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that was 6, 7.
Gotcha.
Alright, 8.
Moment of truth.
20 bucks, 9, 10 arrows, 10. Piece of heart, 11. Another piece of heart. Double fire bar room, 300 bucks.
That puts Firewood King in the lead.
And Chexhuman's going back left. Yes, that could put Firewood King in the lead here. It still depends on where that big key is. Fire snake room, $20. So this is 12 for Chexhuman. All right, randomizer room, $20. Compass, $20. $300.
Holy cow! Where is this key?
Could it be tile room? That's 13.
Man, now I'm like you. I want it to be tile room. I want the most tense waiting game ever.
Well, at this point, it's down to Bob's chest, Ice Armos, and tile room. The only thing is Firewood King has not done right side.
Firewood King making a good call there. His arrow count is really low, so it's good awareness of him taking that warp to make sure he has enough arrows to finish out this Ice Armos fight.
Alright, so that was 14 through 17 for Chexhuman, and adeptly grabbing arrows where he knows they aren't. Bob's chest, small key. So that should be 18 for Chexhuman.
Fun fact from the NMG game, how quick you kill those Ice Armos determine... Oh, there we go, vanilla location.
Vanilla location. Firewood King has the big key and is making his way to the gauntlet.
So that would be chest, what, 19?
Yes, we have to wait until Chexhuman pulls it. And yes, that's 19.
But yeah, fun fact about those Ice Armos, how fast you kill them determines the way the fire bats appear around Ganon, known as an arc variable.
Very interesting. Alright, well, the first correct guess from a sub or supporter was 15 by Kinghorn, so congratulations, you have been added to our leaderboard.
So Firewood King has a slight edge over Chexhuman here, but it's going to come down to execution at this point.
And taking a fall there is where execution could do it for you. Alright. 148-48, Firewood King is in the gauntlet.
Chexhuman getting the spike dash there.
Chexhuman 149.03. So we've got about I want to say a 15-second difference. Execution is certainly going to determine this race at this point. We are just 2 rooms difference between these runners.
And Firewood King is a bit low on health, but he has a ton of safeties.
He also doesn't have the powder like Chexhuman does. Alright, Lambo 2 down.
Has to be a little careful. He probably wants to drink that potion, but you can't change items while Lambo is exploding. And you have to dodge fireballs.
Wait, why did Firewood King go down? Oh, he needs arrows. Which we're at 7 and 8 respectively on the arrow count for both of our runners.
Yeah, there is an arrow pot in the refill room right before Moldorm 2. So that he could have gotten them then. He really only needs 4 for Ganon, assuming he doesn't miss.
We've got a one-room difference at this point. Oh, that could have been disastrous if Firewood King got knocked down by the fire bar.
Firewood King is literally one room ahead of Chex right now. Chex will need to kill the mini Helmosaur to get a small key here, though. Because he went right side.
Alright, Firewood King into Troll Arm 2. Oh!
Oh no!
Trolled!
Oh, that's gotta hurt.
Troll Arm 2 down.
Chexhuman has Mold Arm 2 down.
And trolled again!
Oh no. It may just be me, but I always think Moldorm 2 is more aggressive after you fall and get back on the platform.
Alright, just a single there for Chexhuman, and a single there. That's 3 singles. And triple there! Aga2 is down for Chexhuman, and it is time for the big pig!
Firewood King getting a single as well. Double there, though. Chexhuman into the Ganon fight.
Aga2 down for Firewood.
Ganon telling us about the joys of cereal.
Phase 1 done for Chexhuman. Gotta think he's gonna be done with Phase 2 here shortly.
Yeah, that looked like a 1-and-1 to me.
Yep. Now these Ganon teleports are going to be the same for both runners, as you saw the Aga2 patterns were the same as well. That's intended for these race ROMs.
Firewood King missing the one cycle, but getting a very good pattern for his for the second phase.
Alright, just 4 arrows to the face, and Chexhuman has this. That's 1. Does get the torch glitch, it's good for a double. Doesn't get the triple, just 1 more to go, and that will do it!
Wow.
Just walks through the door, and Chexhuman finishes with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 54 minutes, and 29 seconds. Spam those GGs in chat.
Firewood King just missing torch glitch, but shouldn't be an issue. Firewood King finishing up his Ganon fight just shortly after Chexhuman.
And Firewood King walks in with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 55 minutes, and 12 seconds. GG's to both of our runners.
Man, what a race.
All right. Unfortunately, Firewood King, after the race, said he was feeling a little tired and did decline the interview. But we are joined by Chexhuman. GG.
GG.
So I have a question for you, Chex. Obviously, like your go mode item was the ice ride.
Yeah.
When you finished your next to last crystal dungeon, you opted to check Bumper Cave, Graveyard Ledge, and Catfish, but then you opted to go to Death Mountain after that and dip Turtle Rock. Why check those specific locations before going into Village of Outcasts?
I was thinking Ice Rod would be in Mimic Cave or Turtle Rock. So I figured I should immediately go to Turtle Rock, but I didn't want to leave too much of the overworld undone, and I had recently gotten the boots and the cape, so I figured those could be the answers. But of course, it was just Sphere 1 Dark World.
So here's the story of this race. Firewood King did early Thieves Town to get the ice rod. Both of you eventually converged on Mire about the same time. Firewood King decided to go ahead and fight Vitreous while you both were at Fighter Sword, no bow, no boots, no cape. You noped out. Firewood King had one small eyeball left and died before getting to the big eyeball, so he was behind. You got on a 6-2 crystal count lead, but Firewood King was the first one to go into go mode to get Quake into Ice Palace, so you both were going through Turtle Rock at go mode at about the same time. And if it wasn't for Firewood King taking 2 Trolldorm 2 falls, you would have been behind going into Agatu and Ganon.
Wow, yeah. I forgot about Quake. I thought that was in Ice Palace. Now, since I had all 3 medallions, I didn't pay attention to what opened what.
It was vanilla for both of them.
Oh, okay. Huh. Yeah, that's pretty interesting then.
All in all, what were your thoughts about the seed?
It seemed pretty flat compared to most seeds, I think. I mean, it was like bow was the deepest thing, and that was in Sphere 4. And it was left side swamp, right? So that I figured that might be trouble. And so I felt okay there. But then after just, I couldn't find Ice Rod. It was just another boring Ice Rod search. But I felt like it had to be, I had to like be way behind.
Yeah, we were laughing because
going into Agatu.
We were laughing because on your search for Ice Rod, you found the shovel, you found the mushroom, you found powder, pretty much everything but the Ice Rod.
Yeah, that was getting pretty interesting. Because in an alternate timeline, I would have said no to Spike Cave and gone to the shovel spot. And if Ice Rod were there, or if the powder led to Ice Rod, then I would have had a portal open on Death Mountain still. But since I went to Spike Cave, I killed the portal, and Ice Rod wasn't in Light World anyway.
The one thing that was really, truly laugh-worthy was when we went into Desert Palace and saw that it was boots locked, and then the boots were in the very next chest.
That's interesting. Who got to Desert first?
Firewood King did.
Uh-huh.
That was at the point where you both were
you were in Ice Palace at that time.
Oh, right. Yeah, and I got Quake before you did, you said. So, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, that affected the routing too, because once Firewood King found his bow in Swamp, he immediately went to Death Mountain, and that's when we found out that Quake was actually required. Both of you were really late into Dark World Death Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
But Firewood King went earlier because Quake was his go mode item, whereas Ice Rod was yours. You didn't have to worry about the medallion. So that gave you a little bit more liberty in terms of the order in which you check things.
Mm-hmm. Did Firewood King do Skullwoods and Hera? It sounds like he didn't go to Hera.
No. Basically what ended up happening was because of him sinking so much time into trying to do Fighter Sword Vitreous.
Oh, right.
He basically, I mean, obviously we didn't get to talk to him because he declined the interview, but based on the actions, he pretty much knew he was behind once that happened, and pretty much was just doing Crystal Dungeons at that point, because he had already done, before that fall to Vitreous, he had already done Skullwoods about the same time you were doing Skullwoods, and did the first 4 chests in Thieves Town, so...
Okay, yeah. I'm not a believer in first 4 of these. I've been almost persuaded, but especially this seed with no mirror and with red mail, it didn't seem like a good idea. And no hammer, of course, but you know, first 4, that doesn't count. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. What a game.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I will say to that, and again, I suck at this game. I didn't even run in the qualifiers. But the thing is, being in the state you guys were in of Titan's Mitts being your Dark World access, and then the hammer being on Lake Hylia Island, I would be more tempted to do first 4 in Thieves Town because of basically your only portal is over in Village of Outcasts. If I had hammer, I probably would not have done Thieves Town until I penned at Thieves Town until I had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible that Firewood King is feeling a little bit behind too, because your early game routing was a little bit more solid. Firewood King made the early play into Eastern, but he save and quit after finding Flute, so he didn't get mitts his first time. He also made a trip into the Zora area without money, so he had to backtrack there as well.
Oh. Right. Jeez.
It is certainly, I would certainly, if you have the time, I would certainly recommend going back and watching the VOD. It was a very fascinating race to watch unfold.
Yeah, you guys were all over the place until Dark World Access, and then you were both in Skullwoods. Then you skipped Thieves Town, whereas he dipped it. You kind of went your own ways, and then you converged again. Like, literally, I think he was 1 room ahead in Turtle Rock by the time you both hit go mode.
Right. Jeez.
All right, well, Chexhuman, any final thoughts?
I can't think of anything. Thanks again for commentary, as always. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the race.
Thank you, Chexhuman, and thank you, Firewood King. I mean, you guys were the stars of the show tonight, and that was quite the race to watch. All right, do want to give a shout out to our tracker, Shandis. Did a great job keeping track of all the items that we did find tonight. And P-Train, I think this was our first commentary together. I was certainly enjoyed the ride.
Absolutely enjoyed it.
All right, so if that doesn't inspire you to watch more Rando, I don't know what will. But we do have another full slate of action here on the Speed Gaming Network of channels tomorrow. 8:30 a.m. Speed Gaming 2. We have All Dungeons Swordless Key Sanity with Korek and Lunchtime ATH. 10:30 a.m. Eastern Speed Gaming 3. Gem and Quiz Bowl have All Dungeons Uncle Assured Key Sanity. 11:30 a.m. Speed Gaming 2, Fear Agent, and Liam Atlas. Just another open seed like what you just saw tonight. Another one of those at 1:30 on Speed Gaming 3 with Quiz Bowl and Gem, so a back-to-back for Quiz Bowl and Gem on Speed Gaming 3. And just stay tuned to the Speed Gaming network of channels because we've got full tournament action pretty much going for the rest of the year. So, P-Train, any final thoughts before I wrap us up?
Not really. Just a GG to Chexhuman, GG to firewoodking. Special thanks to Shondas for tracking. This job is very difficult without a tracker. Other than that, I enjoyed it.
So did I. As always, thank you to the Speed Gaming staff for everything they do behind the scenes, as well as the volunteers that put together this tournament for us. Again, P-Train, it was a pleasure commentating with you. I have been Jex Refi. We will see you all next mission.